Hello, good morning. My name is Jordan Stoner. Like they said, I'm a space Agile coach at Lockheed Martin.
My name's Anthony Earl. I'm also an Agile coach at Lockheed Martin in space.
So Anthony and I both speak English. I'm from the United States, as you might be able to tell.
And I grew up in England. I spent half my life in England, but I live in Colorado now in the US.
And I've lived in New Zealand. We all speak English, but there are certain things like chips.
You mean crisps?
Exactly. Some other, a wrench I might use.
Spanners.
Yeah, or fries.
Fries. Chips.
Chips,
yeah.
So we're speaking the same language, but we might not always communicate correctly to each other what we want to do. So that's one of the problems we face, among other things. We're trying to enable learning. We're trying to enable the teams to work together and understand kind of what we're doing. We build a lot of cyber physical hardware, and we're learning space terminology, and they're learning Agile and DevOps terminology. So we really want to try to understand, what and help each other learn each other's language and terminology. And so among the other problems we face, we need cost-effective solutions. We need high quality, obviously, delivery at the speed of relevance, which is DevOps, and practical support in unusual environments, AKA in outer space. We're not talking about a regular app on your phone. So it's something we need to figure out. So thank you for the intro on the show. These are the characters. So Reese Wilmoth from Scaled Agile gave us these great graphics that we use. But just a little bit about each of the characters. Ted Lasso, like myself, a Midwestern American. Gridiron, is that what you call American football here? He coaches that in the United States. Rebecca, who is the owner of the team, gets the team in a divorce from her husband. She hires Ted because she thinks he will fail. But Ted's, folksy Midwestern, kind of smarter than he gives on, kind of a motivator. Coach Beard is this tactical genius. He draws up the plays, how the team's gonna run the practices and that sort of thing. Rebecca, obviously the owner. Keely's one of the players' girlfriends, and her kind of trend in the show, you kind of see. Each of these characters has different leadership traits, and you see that throughout the show. And if you haven't seen it, I obviously recommend watching it. But how they approach the problems that come up and how they deal with each other is very important. Kind of a lot of analogies to what we do in coaching Agile and DevOps. So, has anyone seen the show? Should we have people? Okay. So, what is the show about? Can throw out what people think the show is about. Anyone? Adversity. Overcoming adversity. Sure. What's up?
Friendship and trust.
Friendship and trust is a big one, trust especially. So, anyone else? Communication. I got communication. I love communication. What was the other one? Believing? Absolutely. Believing. So, to us, the things that we were about, we're implementing a new system. American football. Ted Lasso doesn't know, I keep saying soccer. Football.
We're on home ground here.
Exactly. But he's trying to get them to play into this system that he has designed and how he wants people to play. He's always positive. We're always positive when we're implementing DevOps, when we're implementing Agile. We're trying our best to be, at least. Terminology. I'm in England now, and I'm, struggling with those types of things, but I'm speaking English. Ted struggles. A lot of the humor from the show comes with him trying to understand football terminology, British terminology, slang, etc. And then, building relationships. We talked about that too. How he's, getting along with his players, how he's understanding the challenges they're having, and then what he's doing to try to help overcome those challenges. So, I think one of the neatest things about being a coach is the connection you make with your players. To me, that's a loss that hits me harder and stays with me a lot longer than anything that happens while playing a game on a patch of grass. So, we're not the first to notice this. There's a lot of articles, Ted Lasso, great leadership. There's one, I really think Ted Lasso embodies servant leadership, and you see a lot of the Agile literature about servant leadership. There's a scene specifically where he tries to he has a comment box, and he gets ideas and no one takes him seriously. One person puts in a thing that says the shower pressure is bad. He's like, we can fix that. And he's building their trust, building the relationships and helping them achieve. And so, I really, that spoke to me from the show. And when you're doing Agile and DevOps, obviously servant leadership, and then why coaches want to be Ted Lasso. So lots of things you'll learn in the show that I would, if you haven't watched it.
Even the name, Ted Lasso.
Yes. Is that not how you pronounce it?
It's lasso.
Exactly. So all different languages. So Ted says, if I were to get fired from my job putting cleats in the trunk of my car.
You get the boot for putting boots in the boot?
Ted says, I love that.
So Jordan, you've done Scrum. No?
Yes. Of course I've done Scrum.
So you know all the Agile terms?
Most of them, I would guess.
Most of them,
like sprint, yeah.
Yeah, that's iteration.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, look in the Agile Alliance glossary.
Okay.
For that one. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So, how about Scrum?
Yeah, I played rugby. I really have played rugby. I've scrummed down.
And no, it's a daily stand-up.
Oh, now it's a daily sync in one of the glossaries.
Yeah,
oh man, how many terms are in these glossaries?
There's plenty. So in the Agile Alliance glossary, there's 75.
Yeah, there's 100. There's over 100 in the SAFe glossary.
And the Scrum.org has 30. So if you're new to Agile, if you're new to DevOps, you're beating people over the head with all these new terms. They might not, come along board a little bit. You gotta kind of work with them on it. So.
Yeah, and this isn't just about the language. It's about all those concepts. We speak this language all day, every day, and I'm sure a lot of you do here. And when you add all the DevOps terms, all the tools, all those technologies, that's a huge number of concepts to introduce to people who may have not heard many of them before. So that is something that we've got to recognize when we're talking to teams, that we can't assume that they understand everything we say the first time or the second time. They're going to have questions. We want them to ask all the questions they really have about what those new concepts are. We offer training. We offer formal training sessions. We offer some we've developed ourselves. We offer some that are licensed from Scaled Agile or from other places. But we take as many opportunities as we can during real events, during real times that we spend with the teams to set them aside and explain something just off the top of our heads. That's really important for me, to give them a sense of any question they ask is something that could really help them make a step forward. So taking those informal opportunities for what I think still offers training is so essential. And at the same time, I was new to space. My history goes back a long time into software development, into architecture design, but I'd never worked in the space domain before, and I've learned far more acronyms than I ever thought I would. I love behaviors of spacecraft, of satellites, what goes in them, what conditions, what environment they've got to work in. So we're learning a whole lot of new technologies ourselves, terminology and concepts. So that two-way learning experience is really valuable to remind me that I'm learning new stuff and how hard it can be for the people who are listening to about these new concepts to learn something. And on one day, Rebecca says to Ted, "Ted, how was your first day?"
Ted says, "I'm not exactly sure what y'all's smallest unit of measurement is over here, but that's about how much headway I made." So.
Yeah, so using an Agile tool, whatever it is, when we know we've got Jira here, we use Jira at Lockheed Martin. We've got GitLab here, we use GitLab at Lockheed Martin. Version 1 is another tool that I've learned to use over my time there. So whatever tool you use, put something in place, even if it's something, any whiteboard with stickers on, whatever it is, put a tool in place so you can start to measure your progress. The benefit of that we've seen right away from kind of important people at Lockheed Martin is this is information they didn't have before. If they were using waterfall methods and they were just looking at task completions and so on, they wouldn't have as easy predictors as they do get from Agile metrics. So having some of those things in place really helps the acceptance of new ways of doing things. And it really is tracking what's been done. I know we want to meet objectives. It's not just about finishing stories, scoring points. It's not about that. But we do need some indication. The government, who's most frequently our customer, wants to know where the taxpayers' money is being spent. So it's really important to have a record of what's been completed. And we also get a sense from ourselves as coaches, how well are the team picking up on things? How is their estimation going? how's their estimation this time around compared to next time? Fortunately, I don't have to travel again this month because the team I was coaching has now had the best quarter of success in completing what they planned to do, and they're actually overachieving this time around. So they're doing PI planning by themselves this time. It's really satisfying to see how teams evolve and to move out of working with them and get a chance to working with somebody else. But there are some things that we want teams to learn how to do. And planning within capacity seems such a simple rule. It seems just as simple as the offside. No, it seems even simpler than the offside rule.
And Ted doesn't know about offsides, so he says, how is that offsides? No, I really want to know, and I think you might have a story about offsides.
Well, does anybody watch football here? Is anybody familiar with VAR? Oh, there's one person in the room? No, two. Come on, own up. Own up. Am I just going crazy because now I live in the US? But I thought VAR was meant to implement the rules. It's meant to say, this was offside. I'm not talking about Tottenham against Liverpool or anything, since I grew up in Liverpool. Yeah, and maybe you saw the City game, City and Liverpool, Sunday. There was a kind of penalty appeal at the end. Anyway, follow the rules. Listen for feedback.
So Ted says, I want you to know I value each of your opinions, even when you're wrong. So of you football fans, who's been to a game at a stadium? Has anyone gone to a game at a stadium?
Everyone's.
England,
we're in England.
Have you given feedback at the stadium? Absolutely you have, and the coach has heard it. So Ted's getting feedback at the stadium. He's hearing obviously very instantaneous fast feedback loops. He's also getting feedback from the team, how the team's performing. Are they, feeling like things are going well? Are they not? He digs into a lot of relationships with the team and, how they're performing. On the same level, we're learning, we're getting feedback within our teams. We're trying to understand, how our teams are doing, what they need, how they're improving, how they're falling behind. And then from our customers aren't always the people using our products. Our pilot of the fighter jet is not our customer. It is, but he's not paying for it. So how do we make that work? How do we make sure the government knows that we're on track? We do things in the United States like integrated master schedules, and there's lots of regulations around government contracting that we have to abide by and make sure that things are going well. So there's feedback loops we have as well. So it's very similar in some senses. So.
Yeah, we do have to follow the rules.
Yeah, it makes sense. Back where I'm from, when you try to end the game in a tie, well, that might as well be the first sign of the apocalypse, Ted says. So. And there's, obviously those of you who follow football more so, there's regular feedback, win-loss records, of course, goals against, and then official pass completions and all that. Like I said, we're government contractors. We're tracking our usual Agile metrics, but also earn value metrics against master schedule, government requirements and such. And then we're having benefits from that. We're finding where we are we getting where we need to be? Are we behind? Most projects are behind regardless. It's just finding out what it is that's the important thing. So, the better we can do that, the better. The teams, we want them to decide where they're sitting. We just saw team topologies. How we can help facilitate that is important in terms of where we go forward. So, and celebrate. If you care about someone and you got a little love in your heart, there ain't nothing you can't get through together, Ted would say. So we're obviously always celebrating our wins. Is there something in a sprint or an iteration we finished that we're happy with? We're doing a great demo. Was the customer really happy? Was the, as a response from the customer even better? Are we getting roadblocks out of the way? Anything that's a happy, positive moment. We're trying to make everyone kind of feel welcome. Birthdays, special occasions, even that type of thing. Bring people in. We have fortnightly tool training for whoever wants it. We'll bring them in. Here's the tool. Here's the product. Here's what we're making. However we can bring you into the fold, make you feel part of the team, the more we can do that, the better. So
we're moving on a little now, building teams. You mentioned team topology, so that's a nice segue.
There we go.
At one point, Keeley is speaking to Rebecca, and Rebecca says, a good mentor hopes you will move on, and a great mentor knows you will. And we see a lot of change in people as they move towards Agile and DevOps. They may have had a long, successful career. There's people who quite regularly at Lockheed are celebrating 20 or 30 years with the company. They have not worked in an agile way for those 20 or 30 years. They've worked in very traditional, siloed, waterfall types of way. But we've also seen that those people can grow into agile roles, but they need time. They need the opportunity. And there is no formula that we've been able to see about which people will be most successful in which new role. So if they're in role A, going to role X is not a guarantee. It's very much about the person, about how they might have a growth mindset, how they want to change, how they get excited about doing things in a different way. So looking out for those people, giving them the opportunities, giving them training, not just in a role that you think they might be good at, but exposing them to other roles as well, can be very, very valuable in finding the right person to slot into the right new position. It's also going to change over time. There's lots of examples in the series about this. Roy Kent, the actor who plays Roy Kent, whose name's completely escaped me.
Brett Goldstein.
So he was a writer for the show and decided that whatever actors they were seeing were not really playing the role right. And he said, well, could I play that role? And he won an
Emmy.
And he won an Emmy for that. So there's examples of Nate goes through many roles within that, and so Keely has her own business. There's just lots of examples of that. So remember, that can be happening in your organization, that just because someone's very good in the role they have now doesn't mean that they can't evolve into a more successful role. People have career goals, so remember that. Remember to give people those opportunities. Large teams, you've probably seen lots of warnings or advice about large teams, from Dunbar's number to team topologies. It's Agile. I think the Scrum guidebook has an advised limit. Scaled Agile has an advised limit. They're all around the same. They're all around 8, 9, 10 people. But it's very tempting for large organizations to look at a team and say, well, a team of 20, they can be an agile team. And it's very important. Don't let that happen. Find a way to break that team into smaller units and get those advantages. There are times where you don't want to share one person across multiple teams because that makes it difficult for the team. It makes it very difficult for the individual. Lockheed does have some people, though, that are so specialized. There are not many people in the world who have their expertise, so we do have to make arrangements for those people to be available to multiple teams. One example is heat management. A satellite going around the Earth experiences very, very wide temperature variations and heat requirements and cooling requirements associated with that. So the people who understand what's going to make a difference in that are very few and far between. But generally, try and avoid that. Give people that time I spoke to as well, to try new roles, to feel safe in succeeding or failing in that new role, from learning from what they succeeded at and learning from what they failed at as well. So to give them the chance. Also, as coaches, we enjoy seeing those experiences and passing on our knowledge. You know, I'm looking towards retirement now, and I'm very happy to share any of my experiences. What I've learned over the past. I've seen lots of good and not so good things. We were talking about that at the speakers' dinner last night with people around us, about how being in an environment can be very uncomfortable. If you've experienced a good environment to work in and you move to one that isn't so good, you recognize it just in an instant. And if you're in a position where you can influence how teams are put together, how people can be reorganized, please pay attention to that. It makes a big difference to people's working lives, but also just their general lives. We're asking people to change when we ask them to start working in a different way with different tools. Maybe they've used a tool for a couple of years and they've become expert in it. You say, no, we really like you to move on to another one. People don't like change. Most people don't like change. So find ways to make it more accessible. In the series, Jamie is the striker, the main goal scorer in the game, but he Ted recognizes there are many opportunities for the team to score if Jamie makes the extra pass. There's going to be no spoilers in this presentation, so don't worry. I'm not going to tell you what happens with any of those. Change how we do things as well. One pattern I've noticed throughout my career, even before Agile, is people often want to talk about how they're going to do something before they'll talk about what they're going to do. And the presentation about product management today struck me as that. People just want to get on with some work and do something. They often don't want to step back and say, why are we doing this? What are we going to try and achieve? People are very eager to jump into how are we going to get that done? I've got an idea. You've got an idea. Let's talk about how we're going to do it. Really try and rein that back to some extent and talk about what's going to be the most value to our customer, whether they're an internal customer or an external customer. People often want, I found this really strange, people want to be told what to do rather than to pull work, which is the most efficient way in terms of flow, in terms of managing capacity. So pay attention to that as well. In the show, Ted delegated a lot of what was going on with the team to Nate and to Coach Beard. So lots of examples there.
So Ted says, nudge that ship in the right direction, yeah?
Mm-hmm. So how are we going to get past resistance? There's a principle in SAFE of a continuous learning culture. I know we do some training, so we may be biased in this, but helping people learn is really very, very important. The last speaker was talking about making sure there is a flow of knowledge across the teams. That's important. Just getting today's latest technology news and techniques. I was asked a question just last week about, well, if we're doing an assessment of a team and do you have the right kind of training? They said, well, there's no training we can just go to. We watch YouTube videos and read articles online. That's our training. And in practice, that's what they have to do. And that is the best way, because the most up-to-date information is on those platforms that are not considered, the classic training places. It's also already been mentioned today that teams need that environment where they can feel safe to explore, where they can make mistakes, where they can try things out. That takes some time, but it's very, very well spent time. Because if they head off down an avenue that turns out to be less efficient or one of the worst possible solutions, they've missed the opportunity by not exploring. And then trust people. Most people want to do a great job. They want to learn. They want a purpose for their job. They want the autonomy and to build their skills and become experts. So remember that most people will do the right thing if they're given the opportunity to do that. And just as a fun quote from the show, well, you know the saying, you buy a man a table, he eats once. You teach a man how to get a table, and he eats at that restaurant until it becomes a Starbucks. Sorry about Starbucks. Yeah.
So Ted says, I'm not planning on that. No, my plan is for my plan to work, but you know what they say about best laid plans, right?
So yeah, teams strongly resist planning to capacity. I know we joked about the offside rule. They regularly are. I think every team I've worked with, the first time they plan a sprint or a planning interval, they are really far too optimistic. They forget the bad days, they remember the good days, everything's going smoothly. They forget the blockers, they forget those inter-team dependencies. They're going to have to wait for something. So coaches, you really have to rein people in these circumstances. Time and time again, if I let a team plan to overcapacity, I can let them do it once or twice and then show them that their productivity really will go up. It won't just be better. It will go significantly up if they plan with incapacity, because there's always more work to do. They can always pull stuff in if they underestimate. But we also have to consider that we won't be there all the time. We don't want to be there all the time with the team. And the team's got to learn to give each other positive and negative feedback. Give each other feedback and give it in the most constructive way, but make sure they feel safe about doing that. And sometimes that means asking a manager to leave the room. It might ask me to ask other people to leave the room, but to make sure awkward conversations become something people can be more relaxed about and feel comfortable in saying. This will make our team better. It will make my life better, your life better. It will be an improvement, and you've got to face that. So don't be shy in doing that. People, we have some classic Agile roles listed here: Scrum Masters, Product Owners, Coaches, and in Scaled Agile is Release Train Engineers, Solution Train Engineers, and PMs. PMs are not Prime Ministers. We're in England now, so this joke doesn't go down as well as it does in the US. But no, that's product managers. And most of all, the teams want to win. As well as people doing a good job, the teams themselves want to win. We work mainly in the US. Lockheed is worldwide. Just about all the work we do, I think, is across just the US time zones. We've all lived through COVID, fortunately. And we have to make sure that all these considerations can work in a virtual environment. I work from home most of the time. Jordan, I think, works from home all of the time.
All the time.
So we are able to, by helping teams across the country work together better, we are able to show substantial savings. We can't show you exact results here. Lockheed wouldn't let us show exact numbers. But we do get a lot of savings from tool automation, from the mundane things that now take almost no time. It really is worth the investment in that. We have some very, very expert people that we work with who are able to put together open source and off-the-shelf tools in a way that really catches problems quickly, gets builds out there quickly, even though we can't always give updates to battleships or to fighter jets on a daily basis. We can still get those pieces of software into test environments very quickly and get fast feedback. Some things that, some numbers here, significant savings with, this number is from a year ago, 300 number of students we trained, and then there is this time where you get authority to proceed with a contract, and being able to get started on that, because you can't have the set of people ready for that day necessarily, because you don't know when that day is going to come. But reducing that time from when they are able to get permission to go ahead, we reduce that substantially. We're in a group called the Software Factory. It's got tools, as I mentioned, and processes and all that good stuff. The US government defined what it meant to be a software factory in various publications, but we still focus mainly on the people. People are they're going to be the ones that solve your problems. AI might help a little more now than it used to, but it's definitely going to be people who work together. So in summary, we're going to see some language barriers. We joked about it, but that's definitely there. Taking small steps at a time in a month or a year, all those small steps really add up. Creating feedback loops, that's essential. That's why any type of system works well, is through effective feedback loops. You're getting that through consistent, regular reporting. Celebrate your wins. Expect some resistance.
Celebrating? Do we have anybody who has a birthday today? Or any sort of celebration of any kind? Or this week? Man, tough crowd. I have 2 pops right here for anyone who'd like to celebrate something. I brought a Ted Lasso. And lastly, we believe in the principles of DevOps. And thank you for coming to our TED Talk.